Jeanette Patty with Broadcast Beat here at the Technical Conference, the SMPTE Technical Conference 2017. I'm here with Barbara Lange, Pat Griffis, and Matthew Goldman. Barbara Lange is Executive Director of SMPTE and HPA. Pat Griffis is Vice President of Technology, Office of the CTO at Dolby Laboratories, and Matthew Goldman is Senior VP of Technology at Ericsson. And Pat is the Executive Vice President, and Matthew's the President of SMPTE. Welcome.
Thank you.
I got all that stuff out.
You
I don't
got it all out.
even breathed.
Yeah.
That was really good.
And it was perfect.
So tell us a little bit about the strategic vision, right? We have to talk about that big overarching theme, and I'm just going to let you guys hop in one after the other.
Well, I'm going to hop in first then,
All
so
right.
we'll just make it that way. Otherwise, we're going to have to,
Arm wrestle.
and thumb wrestle these
yeah.
guys here. Anyway, so just like every other industry organization, if you don't continue to look forward and reinvent yourself, you'll be left behind. And the Society of Motion Pictures and Television Engineers is undergoing that. We're in a fantastic time in our industry right now where we're undergoing what could potentially be another major disruption in our industry, moving from industry-specific interfaces to IT, information technology, infrastructure.
This is another big
thing.
right?
Like we went from analog to digital, where we converted from tapes to files. We're now going from industry-specific hardware to information technology hardware, so we can leverage off of that field. And because of that, in looking at what it means to be a broadcaster or a broadcast engineer or studio producers or productions, it's changed now with over-the-top delivery of videos, personalization, etc. Technology has leapt so far forward that it's not just the large studios and the television producers that can do meaningful content. That's what YouTube is about, right? So the society needs to look at where we are, where we're going to be, and we have a technical vision, I should say, that the three of us worked on very hard, and we call it Vision 2020.
Vision 2020.
Vision 2020, very original name.
Who came up with the name?
The three of us did together.
Very nice.
Because we're very visionary. Ask anyone, ask us, okay? And basically what it is, we're taking a look out, and we got our entire board together. We've met at times over the years, like at a retreat, for instance, got together. Where do we want to be in 3-4 years? What is the society going to look like? And we've done strategic planning for that, with the idea being that we would have some very high-level strategic statements, and then from that, we build a business plan to be able to address those and a roadmap for how to get there.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about this IT technology hardware business.
For me or for somebody else?
Oh, just in general. I mean, you just rolled that off.
So there are probably, say, tens of thousands of broadcasters in the world or production studios, right? And there's probably, I don't know, a gazillion? There's like 100 billion devices out there that use internet or ethernet, or IP technology. And so we want to be able to leverage off of that for economies of scale.
Okay. That's
30, 40 years ago in our business, we had industry-specific equipment, and people were going around with pads and pens and paper. Now people have multiple tablets and cell phones.
Except for me.
Except for you.
This is a budget thing. I have paper and a pen.
And if we wish to be around for our second century, we really do need to look at this environment in which we live, and how does that change our thinking and our opportunities, and do we need to expand or contract in different areas? And that's what the board is really studying, to make sure that we do indeed have a future to have a second century celebration.
And I would add that, as Executive Vice President working with Matthew and Barbara, my role is to try to set that agenda. And the good news is that entertainment as a industry is alive and well. People want it.
Not us being entertaining, but real entertainers.
No,
the challenge for us is that the tools of telling those stories in entertainment are changing with the advent of IP, as Matthew brought out, with new technologies. And so as the industry is evolving, we need to evolve with it. And that's a key part of our strategic planning discussions. And I'm actually pretty excited that I think we understand those problems and we're addressing those challenges to bring in the new players in the ecosystem as we go forward.
So this isn't on my paper, but I'm going to ask a question because I'm curious, and that is, do you feel like the industry is becoming more and more a customer-driven industry than ever before? That
I would say that the user, the consumer, however you want to define that, has a lot more say in a lot of things. So even if you look at, as we as consumers of content, we set our own schedule of when we're going to watch content. And I think if you carry that forward, you'll see that more and more. And also, I think the addition to that, these new disruptors, they're not even new anymore, I wouldn't say, but the disruptors are really changing the whole ecosystem and the value proposition and the business models. And so it's in this chaos that we as an organization need to make sure that we have the answers for people. And in fact, I would say that when there's chaos, people turn to organizations like SMPTE for knowledge, for education, for understanding, and that's where we want to position ourselves to be.
Your question's a great one, because who is the customer for SMPTE? Historically, it's been those in our industry, B2B, but to Barbara's point, the technology is changing the economics, and for example, studios who have been a traditional partner are now looking at going direct to the consumer. So customer is a very evolving word even for us, and so we're evolving with the times.
Yeah, what's a studio?
But along the lines of that, this is where technology has changed, and this is a generational thing, is now with the instant availability of video and over the top, as we mentioned, as we've all mentioned here, what's different now is really it's all about personalization, because technology enables that. It wasn't that long a time ago where the only way you could see a motion picture was in a large theater setup, to the theater schedule, to the everything schedule. Television, the only way to see that was you had a planned schedule out, and that's when the television shows are done. And in the old days, you watched it live or you missed it. And then, 20 years ago or so, we had video recorders. All of a sudden, you could record something that's live and then watch it later. Now it's on demand, or to your schedule, or it's no schedule. So in order to get that anytime, anywhere, and now any device, you're not even tied to a location, we have to evolve, and our industry has to evolve with that.
So what are the technical challenges? What are some of the technical challenges over the past, say, 2 years in that space, in moving from appointment TV to anytime, anywhere TV that your organization has been involved with?
Well, the hardest thing in this is the need or the desire of the consumer seems to be leading the technology, always. And as soon as you get a little bit of enabler, that's what people want, right? So our biggest challenges, of course, have been in rapidly changing demands and desires, and then the technology is going behind that, is moving towards the general industry, towards what they call an agile way of process, which is much faster returns. It used to be you had a couple of years to make a motion picture, or if you want to change a plant over, you set it up by CapEx,
Right, sure.
7 to 10 years, you replace your equipment.
CapEx to OpEx, baby, right?
And right, that's exactly what's happening. Now it's like, well, we need to change now, and the model is interactive, and it used to be all a CapEx model, and then leverage that with depreciation. Now a lot of it is, well, I really don't want to buy that, I only want to lease it, and then now I really don't want to lease it, I want to pay for usage. It's a service-oriented architecture instead. So the challenges for us is to come up with different ways of looking at things. And I don't think we've actually said it explicitly, but obviously for SMPTE, we have 3 main pillars.
Let's hear them.
We have the membership pillar, we have an education pillar, and we have a standards pillar. And that drives a lot of what we do. In each one of those areas, we have to adapt and change towards where we're going to. So it's technology in our background, but in the foreground, that's what we need to do. So
and I would add, we have a whole new set of devices and customers like these that 20 years ago didn't exist, yet we have entertainment technology increasingly on these devices, and we set the standards for those experiences. So we have to evolve ourselves as the markets, and as Matthew said, the customers have changed.
And I would add to that is that our members who have traditionally been engineers, that's also evolving. Broadcast engineering as a trade is kind of very much in flux, I would say. And so we are also looking at how do we engage and interact with this new IT software engineer or technologist person,
Right.
and how do we engage with them to learn about what we're...
And Barbara made a good point we haven't mentioned. Our partnership with the Hollywood Professional Alliance, which is a society of creatives in Hollywood, actually complements what we do, because I think of us as the society of the storytellers, the technologists that make it happen, and the people that use it.
Right.
Which actually, going forward, people want to hear stories, and I think that's a key competitive advantage for us.
Well, one of the questions I wanted to ask is, they say they will know we are pioneers by the arrows in our back, right? And you guys are right here on the firing line.
We got a lot of arrows in our backs.
Yeah, the scars are healing after the first 100 years.
And I imagine there are some folks still in SMPTE that are the guy who pushed the button. And how do you
especially.
meld this newer way of thinking? How do you help work through the discomfort that comes from the old and the new coming together?
That's a good point. And what it is even though there's a lot of new technology, in disruption there's opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's really the message that we've been pushing to our members now. It's like, this isn't our first rodeo for changes in technology that have completely changed the business. One could even go back to SMPTE's roots, which weren't SMPTE. It was SIPI, but I can't pronounce it, because it was Society of Motion Picture Engineers. And I'm sure around 1950s in our organization, because we're 100 years old. We started in 1916. So I'm sure in the 1950s.
3 years earlier than the ASC.
There you go. And so I'm sure in the 1950s, when they started talking about what's this new thing called television, and what's television going to do and be disruptive to motion pictures? Well, guess what? There's still motion pictures 50 years later, right?
Yeah.
So what we're trying to say is we've been through this before. It's about getting on top and making sure that we understand what the needs of our customers are saying that we need, and that's why we're doing this Vision 2020 planning, is you want to make sure that we're, if we want to, we're a bunch of really like-minded birds of a feather flock together folks that are the behind the scenes. Everybody knows about the actors and actresses in front. We're the unsung heroes a lot of times behind the scenes, and we need to adapt to make sure those in front in the entertainment industry have the technology that backs them behind them.
Let's talk about that a little bit, the idea of being the engineering crew. I think a lot of times there's 1,000 waitresses a day that move to Hollywood to become an actress. But what kind of opportunities are there now in this technology field that maybe there weren't?
Oh, I would say there are limitless opportunities. You can be an engineer, you can be I think it's all about having an interest in the quality and evolution of the motion image, and that's who we want to cater to. Those are the people, so you can be a hardcore engineer and you can be somebody who is more on the creative craft side. You would find a home in SMPTE because you are helping to evolve the science and technology behind the moving image so that the consumer has that wonderful experience as was intended. And so I feel that it's an evolution of the industry, but it is a great opportunity for anybody who's interested in that quality and evolution of that motion image.
And I would, Barbara said it greatly. I would just add that people who care about telling stories, and stories are going to be interesting even in the next century. We're the place where we create the tools. We have the creatives who tell those stories. And if you care about that as a passion, this is the place to be.
Yeah.
So, in some ways, we're in the Wild West technologically.
Yeah.
We have been for a while. Why are standards so important in this Wild West environment?
Because they clear the chaos. They help clear the chaos.
Yes.
Sometimes we create our own chaos in the development of those standards, but in fact, it's exactly what Barbara has said. We take a lot of things for granted, and one of the things that we always comment on is there are things in our everyday lives, particularly in electronic everyday lives, that we take for granted. You take for granted, for instance, when we want to share a file, everybody has those ubiquitous USB drives now, right?
Right.
You take it for granted. Hey, you want a file? Great. You want to share that? Let me have that. And you plug it in, and it just works. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, there's probably hundreds of thousands of lines of code that are being run through. Hi, new device, I'm here. Okay, who are you? I don't understand you. Let me go get the driver. You go load the driver. All this stuff is happening, and it goes boom. It's all hidden, and that's really we do our job best when people don't know that we're there.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that's behind it. If something happens like a live event, like a sport or a concert goes off air, it's usually something that happens, right?
Yeah.
Well, hundreds of lines of code and hundreds of companies, right?
Right.
You guys partner with
Thousands, yeah.
some
Well,
of
we
the
have,
big.
just to be clear, we have a membership that is a global membership. We have almost 7,000 individual members and over 250 corporate and organizational members who are a marquee list of brands that are wonderful. And they all find a home within SMPTE and support this because they all feel that what we're doing is important to the industry and their well-being too.
What is a surprising thing that you don't think people know about SMPTE?
How fundamental we are to the industry. When you watch a TV show today, when you watch a movie today, actually SMPTE made the standards. Our logo shows that, going all the way back to film. Yet today, and part of our symbol shows that film is dissolving to digital cinema. We have continued to evolve. You couldn't enjoy many of the entertainment experiences you have today without the standards we've helped create.
Just the moving of the images themselves, and the moving images and the associated audio with that. So it's moving from one location to another. It goes over a SMPTE interface. Something that people take for granted. They see it in the team. The color bars, the sprocket spacing and size on a film.
Right.
All that.
Yep.
Right. On the television, the zone plate test patterns, what we also call pluge in the industry, do pitch and lineup generation equipment, everything. But all these things, all this set it up. The lighting themselves in many cases. The cameras, how that camera's wire is connected up to a playout device. Those are all SMPTE standards.
I like that word, pluge. That's a
Pluge.
new one for
Very
me.
fancy word, isn't it?
And I would say, so when I joined SMPTE in 2010, I was new to the industry. I had no idea. And the first time I went into a studio and observed what was happening, or went to a master control room, and I went home and I said to my husband, I said, I can never watch a television show again in the same way because I know too much now, and it's magical, and it's really a miracle that it works. And we sit down and we at home turn on the television, it all works, and yet there is so much that goes on behind the scenes that we can't even imagine. And I think that's what people don't appreciate as consumers. And I suppose it's a good thing if we're doing our job properly.
I mean, even things like descriptive video, subtitling, closed captions, all the things all this technology that works. It's all SMPTE.
Get in there, Pat. I know you want
Well,
to get in there.
and I often joke because for the average person, all of this is mundane. We don't think about when we plug in a light that the cable works. But I do joke we're the standard of the stars, because without the work we've done, those Hollywood movies that you enjoy, particularly today in digital technology and immersive sound, would not be possible. So we do the fundamental work to make those entertainment experiences
Even
possible.
time
That's
codes.
what makes it fun.
You're gonna be looking at that. It's a SMPTE time code. The station clocks are all run to a Blackbird setup. It's all SMPTE.
So I want each of you now to tell me one really big reason why somebody should join SMPTE.
One really big reason. We have so many big.
One really big reason to join
Why
SMPTE.
somebody should join SMPTE.
For me, if you care about storytelling, if you care about the people that are actually driving it and setting the standards and making the stories, if you really are passionate about that, you want to be here, because as a technologist, as a creative, as someone that wants to see the future of the industry, remember we started with black and white, we're in color and HD. If you want to be part of that evolution and revolution, this is the place you meet the people who are making it happen. That's why, for me.
That one?
I would say if you want to do that and change and evolve it to the next level, because it's only going to get more interesting in the coming years, and it's these new technologies from VR to AI, ML, all these things are going to change it to the next level. And if you want to be part of that change, you want to be a part of SMPTE.
And for me, it's a pretty foundational thing. birds of a feather flock together, common interest stuff. We're all very excited about the technology behind entertainment. You know, and Pat almost said it earlier, but I'm not sure if he came out with it the whole way. It says, we set the standards in the motion imaging business, and that's what we do. And so all that goes behind that, being behind the scenes and really wanting to make a difference so that people can enjoy entertainment for years to come, that's the reason to join
You
SMPTE.
guys make collaboration happen.
Yes,
right?
There we
It's
go.
not possible without you.
We're collaborating
We
up here
are
right now.
Right now, yeah. So, where do people find out about SMPTE? Where do they join?
www.simpty.org. That's all you have to know. And we have a lot of local events in our local sections, but www.simpty.org, is the place to go.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Barbara, Pat, and Matthew.
Thank you.
For being
Thank
with
you.
me today. I think we covered a lot of ground, and I'm ready to go. I'm going to go sign up.
Sign up right now.
Yay.
They don't have paper, but I'm ready to go sign up.
Okay.
You can sign up on that or
SMPTE.
we'll sign you up on a tablet, one or the other.
Sounds good. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for coming to Broadcast Beat and seeing us at the SMPTE Technical Conference in 2017. We're here with Barbara Lange, Pat Griffis, and Matthew Goldman, the board of SMPTE.